day. This is Doc. Thank you for joining us again. Today we're joined by a couple of friends that have been friends of mine for a long time. And Brett even works for the ministry. Brett's been over to South Africa, I think, at least 3 times now. And Julie just had her first experience in South Africa. And so I'm excited to hear a fresh report of what their journey was like back in Africa. Uh, Good morning, guys. Would you introduce yourselves to our audience?
Good morning. My name is Brett Hendrickson. Currently, I serve as the Executive Director of Blessman International on the U.S. side, helping with the U.S. office and building support for the ministry. I get to tell the story, and it's a fun story to tell, that's for sure.
And I am his wife, Julie. We will be married 29 years in December. We have 3 grown children, Drew, Josh, and Lauren. Our oldest, Drew, is married to Lexi. And I am a middle school choir teacher. I teach 6th and 7th grade choir.
Wonderful. So let's go ahead and just tell us what happened. Tell us a bit about your church. Many things I'm excited to hear, and I'm sure our listeners are excited to hear from you today, too.
One thing that I want to mention is we were supposed to go to South Africa together. So Brett and I and our daughter Lauren, who is now a sophomore in college, we were supposed to go last summer. And I was, to be honest, was a little apprehensive. I had gone through a health journey prior to that, and I just wasn't physically and emotionally feeling myself yet, but I was like, okay, if this is our opportunity, we're going to go. It's going to be great. But I just honestly was a little apprehensive about it. And so it turns out that the team that we were going to travel with decided to postpone their trip. And because I'm a teacher, I can only go in the summer. So I was a little relieved. I know Brett and Lauren were disappointed, but honestly, I was like, okay, this is good. It's going to give me another year. It'll be a good thing. Well, in the midst of all of that, within the next 6 months, our church Hilltop, which we've only been attending for a little over 2 years, had decided that they were going to do a trip to South Africa with Blessman. And I said to Pastor Brandon, I said, is there any way you can do it in the summer so that Lauren and I could go too? And he's like, absolutely. So I just feel like God's hand was in that, because experiencing South Africa was going to be amazing enough, but doing it with our team and our fellow friends from church just made it all that more special.
Absolutely.
You guys are so blessed. It's one of the best churches in the entire state of Iowa. I've always enjoyed the times that I get to visit there, and I've had several meetings with Pastor Brandon, and just amazing pastor, amazing church. And one of the things I really love about your church, you're raising funds to build a new church because you're outgrowing and you've been in the theater for a long time now. Mm-hmm. While you were doing that, you reached out and helped us build a church in Africa. And you haven't even been able to accomplish getting your own church built yet. And so what a wonderful heart for missions that your pastor has and your entire congregation. Share with us a little bit what it was like for you to actually get to come to Africa, and especially as a family.
For me, Doc, working with you for the last several years has been such a blessing. But this particular trip really was a collision of my worlds. Our church that we worship with and church family coming, my personal family and Julie and Lauren coming to experience the ministry that I'm very well aware of. But they've just been hearing about. And so it really was a collision of my worlds and such a blessing for me.
Julie, what surprised you about the trip?
I felt like I really knew a lot about it. Obviously, Brett talks about it a lot. I had been to several different times that he has made presentations, showed videos and pictures, and talked about the ministry. So I felt like I had a pretty good grasp of everything that Blessman did, but going there absolutely was just a whole new level. And I also know the size of the staff, both here in the States and in Africa. And to see what this smallish organization does is just unbelievable. Like
Hmm.
every day going to a different school or Del Kramer or the farm. The whole team was just like, they do so much. This is amazing. And every time we jumped in the bus, we're going a half an hour, 45 minutes away. So it's not just localized. It's all over Limpopo. And honestly, it was far more amazing than I even had in mind that it was going to be. And I was so just impressed with how well things were done. Of course, for me, being a teacher, kids are my thing. And the fact that we literally were with kids, age, you know, 6 months old to high school was just incredible. And it was just so fun to actually be doing the work right along with the Blessman team. It was, yeah, you have to go to experience it. And it was far more incredible than I thought it was going to be.
Well, I'm so happy you got to go, and I hope you get to keep coming back often.
I told them, I
Uh,
said, I'll be back. I promise.
that's great. And I have heard from a few other people in your team that you guys got to have a special encounter with a child or children that you're sponsoring.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what that was like.
Um, yeah, a few years ago, we started sponsoring a child there at Del Kramer Children's Campus, and um, I've had a chance to meet him and play with him and love on him for 3 different times now. But this was the first chance for Julie and Lauren to meet him, and it's such a super special experience when you're writing letters and sending texts and little videos through the Bridgely app to encourage him, to let him know that we're praying for him, and tell him about things that are happening here, wanting to hear about things that he's doing in South Africa, but then actually to go spend some time with him. One of the cool videos that I captured while we were there this time is Lifa was kneeling on the ground with some of his friends, and they were playing drums. He was just hitting his hands against the ground, and he's keeping a really cool beat. I mean, he's a just turned 7,
Yeah.
and he's a talented little drummer, and it was so fun for us to just hang out with him, experience his personality, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we've been looking at his picture on a refrigerator for almost 2 years now. And of course, when Lauren and I found out that Brett got to meet him his first time there, we were like, oh, and he's shy. And of course, he's only 7. So he speaks a little Sepedi, but not, a little English, but not a lot. But he warmed up to us. And
Yeah.
we had an opportunity. He was at the soccer game that we got a chance to go to. And he came up and sat with us, with him and his friends. And then we thought, well, we're going to just have a little one-on-one time with him. So we decided to go over to the playground, and we got to push him on the swing, and he impressed us with his mad skills of jumping off the swing. And it was just fun to see how he was just becoming more comfortable with us. And we took pictures, and it was just so special. And we said this to the team. We're like, you can sponsor kids that you literally saw 4 days in a row at the Del Kramer and got to hug and got to play with. And that's not a typical experience that you would get with a child that you would sponsor halfway around the world. So our daughter, who's 19, said to us the last couple of days, she goes, can we sponsor one of these older girls that I got a chance to meet? And we're like, of course. So she had one girl that had specifically said, would you sponsor me? Because she had known that Lifa was somebody that, one of the children that we were sponsoring. And Lauren's like, yeah, I think so. So we've already sponsored her. Lauren sent a video to her and
Praise the Lord.
pictures with her. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, this was a girl that helped teach Lauren how to play netball.
Yeah.
Well, Julie, did Brett get you out hunting at all?
No.
No, but you did let me go hunting, and
Yeah, what was that like?
it was an incredible experience. I bow hunt and shotgun hunt here in Iowa for white-tailed deer, but to go to South Africa and experience the different species of animals that are there, they're just so unique. I had a chance to hunt with NB Safaris, and the program that NB Safaris and Blessman International works together to create. It's called Hunt Against Hunger, as you know. What a beautiful program to where hunters can come, harvest animals, and donate the meat to our children's feeding initiative. It's such a beautiful circle of hunting and feeding children with the collaboration between these organizations. So I show they tell you, come with a few animals in mind, just because you're hunting. It's not called shooting, it's hunting. And so I was hoping to hunt for a gemsbuck, just a beautiful animal, and was lucky enough to harvest a gemsbuck early in the day. And then Ryan Siedenberg, my hunting buddy, hunted for a Niala for a majority of the afternoon. And then right before dark, I had a chance to also throw some lead toward blue wildebeest. And I harvested 2 different animals, much to my wife's chagrin.
For the kids.
We donate a lot of meat to the kids. And so I'm anxious to have those trophies come back here to the States. I've got some space on the wall for those.
Did you tell Doc that the wildebeest is going in the office?
Yeah, probably.
We're going to have a bigger office. No, and you talked about completing the circle, and I'm sure you're aware, Brett, but you never got to meet Neil, who actually founded Hunt Against Hunger. And Neil was one of Dustin's very best friends and a good friend of mine. And he and I had the vision of this Hunt Against Hunger program where hunters would shoot animals and the meat would go to feed children in our feeding program, because hunters from overseas really can't deal with the meat. They benefit from taking a trophy home. And so it's a wonderful program. And to complete the circle, with your church helping us build Hope Church, that church was dedicated in honor of Neil. He died in a car accident about 4 or 5 years ago. And we got the vision to work with his parents and his widow to make it part of his legacy. And so it really does complete the loop of your church supporting our church, and the combination with partnership with NB Safaris.
We had 7 hunters from our trip of 15, and we harvested 9 animals. That's a lot.
Wow. It's a lot of meat. We're going to have to buy a new freezer.
It was so cool. When we went to the farm, they showed us, they opened up the big, huge freezer, and they said, this is meat that you guys harvested. And it was powerful to see that.
Oh, it is. Well, one of my favorite things when mission teams come over is our fireside chats, sharing with each other what God's doing in your heart. And you have your wonderful pastor there guiding you spiritually. Did you guys get to experience a few nights around the campfire?
We did. In fact, we were there during I guess it was coming out of the winter time there in South Africa. So we enjoyed a number of campfires. And you're right, Doc. There's something about being removed from the distractions of our typical lives here in the U.S. and our schedules, and being pulled away from that and focusing on what the Lord's doing in South Africa and involving and engaging in mission there. And then at the end of the day, to gather around a campfire to reflect on the events of the day, on maybe how our hearts were touched or what the Lord might be speaking to us because of what we've seen and what we've experienced. Super, super special time. And it was obvious to me, just watching the rest of the team, that God was working in their hearts throughout each day of ministry. It was just a beautiful time to hear stories of things that took place, conversations with kiddos, and what a beautiful way to reflect at the end of each day.
And what a joy it is to see that.
We hear often, Doc, from teams that come back that they received more than what they feel like they offered or what they gave in service through that experience of a mission in South Africa. And I think that's pretty amazing that God is working in the hearts of those that are willing to go and serve, sacrificing their dollars to go serve others. and they are the recipients of the blessing.
I have a story that Lauren's 19 and she's going to school to be an elementary teacher, and her minor is ESOL, which is working with students that English isn't their first language. And she was just so touched by everything. And the last night she said to me, she said, "Why can't South Africa be closer? I want to come here more." And I said, "You know what, Lauren?" I said, "When you become a teacher and you have your summers off and you still get a paycheck," I said, "who knows? Maybe you can come out and spend a month here and get involved." And her eyes just like lit up, and she's like, "That would be amazing." And I said, "Yeah." So, I mean, the whole trip just captured her heart for South Africa, for Blessman, and just for missions in general.
You know, when people really help the ministry as far as serving the children in Africa is when they come for a month or two or three or a year. So we're always coveting more laborers. You know, in the Bible it says the laborers are few, and we really need more help. And I know God will provide, but for 2,000 years the laborers have been few, and they probably will be moving forward. Well, one of our big programs is feeding kids, but you know, there are other things that we do, providing water in the wells and the farm. You guys got to see a well come online and tell us what that was like.
To turn and see the face of the director of the daycare and just hear her praising the Lord the second, I mean, it was incredible. It was amazing.
Yeah, this was the 90th water well project that we experienced. And yeah, as Julie mentioned, Magdalene is the name of the daycare
Precious, so precious.
manager. And the story was she had been asking Maxwell, who's part of our team there in South Africa, Maxwell, when will we get water? They were on the list, and she and the center desperately needed water. And so they were one of the priority projects, but it was just a matter of, okay, when funds are available, we'll get that well drilled. And so she had been anticipating that day for a long time. And her response was passionate and grateful and beautiful.
It was beautiful.
So fun to see, to see the kiddos and understand how much that water will help them as well as the community.
Well, you guys are a special music family. Tell me what you experienced as far as the difference in music in Africa and America.
Yeah, music. Well, the worship services that we were able to experience Friday night and Sunday morning at Hope Christian Church were pretty special. Anytime there's music happening or playing, the South African response is to move.
Yeah.
And so they were moving and dancing. And one of my memories on Friday night was dancing next to a girl by the name of Hilden. And I was watching her feet trying to duplicate what she was doing. And she had the biggest smile on her face because I probably looked a little goofy, but I was all in. I was trying my best to follow her.
Yeah, the kids just would come and pull us up to dance with them. And I think part of it, they were like, all right, what can they do? But it was fun to worship with them, you know, through dancing. And they were very passionate. They sing to the top of their lungs. And we had an opportunity for Brett and I, and then one of the other worship leaders that was on the trip, to lead worship for a couple slower worship songs on that Sunday morning. And that was really powerful to hear them just singing with all their hearts. It was very, very special. I had a situation where one of the young ladies that was on our team, she works with the youth at Hilltop, and she has been ever since they started. And she came over to me after the service and just threw her arms around me and started crying. And I'm like, what's going on? And she just said, the way the kids worship here, it's just so different. They have so little, but they have such joy, and they just worship God with everything in their being. And I just wish it would be like that in the States. And I'm like, I know.
There's a revival going on there. On Friday nights, you know, when church is over, they don't want to leave. they'll sit in those pews for an hour, hour and a half after the church service is over. I truly believe they'd stay all night if we'd leave the lights on, keep a little music playing. You can just sense that there's a real movement of God, real movement of the Holy Spirit in that church.
There was a lot of anticipation about worshiping with that congregation after participating in raising funds for the building of that church. I know that for our church, because we don't have our own building yet, it was almost like a faith gift where we're offering, okay, we're going to help build the church around the world, knowing that God is still working in our situation and He'll provide at the right time for our church to have their own building.
I talked to so many of our team and they just were like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And like for Americans to be impressed with something,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody had any idea it was going to be as gorgeous as it was. And I just kept looking up at, what are they, rafters? They call it. I mean, it was beautifully done. And it's got to be such a special moment for the students and for the members of the congregation to be in such a beautiful sanctuary.
That building was designed in the shape of a cross. It sits on a public combined school, 8th through 12th grades. And with permission from the headmaster and the government, we're allowed to be there. We're allowed to build a cross-shaped church building on the public school grounds. And it so beautifully marks that place for Christ.
Jesus.
I think it's a beautiful symbolism. I think it's just a wonderful next step in the life of that church. It's just so fun to be a part of.
For today, any final thoughts?
On our trip on the way over, I think we might have the record for taking the longest time to actually get from the U.S. to South Africa. Some canceled flights and rebooking through Paris. We did have a chance to actually experience the city of Paris because of the long layover. And then we arrived first thing Sunday morning. So we did miss the first church service, which we regret. But that particular trip, in spite of the challenges to get there, our team was so excited and ready to engage in mission in serving those children. They had smiles on their faces, though they were tired. They were thrilled to be there, and just overall was a remarkable, life-changing trip for most of us.
Well, thank you guys. It's been a joy to spend the last several minutes with you and hearing what God's doing in your heart and what your experience in Africa was like. And want to invite all of our viewers and listeners to continue to follow us on YouTube and other places that you find your podcast. You can find us at our ministry at blessmaninternational.org. And that's a good place for you to check out a mission trip to South Africa as well. So we'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.